What's up, everybody? Welcome in to another YouTube live show. I am John Kurtz, sporting a new background, got a new camera today. So, should be a good show. Some good vibes. Vibes are high. We're going to talk a lot of Big 12 championship game today. And man, we've got a lot. Like, I was going through the list of everything I need to get to today, and it's like there is just so much. I mean, we've got major Pac-12 updates that I don't know that I'll even have time to get to because there's so much going on in the Big 12. Obviously, Big 12 championship game. There are a number of angles of that to me are fascinating here. If Oklahoma State can get it done, obviously that would behoove basically the entire rest of the Big 12. But how would Brett Yormark handle an awkward trophy presentation if he's the one handing it over to Texas at the end of the game? And speaking of that, I think the same would go for a number of different commissioners in college football this week who might have to do that. Florida State, Michigan. Think about how icy some of those could be. That would be very, very entertaining potentially this weekend. But is there a path for Oklahoma State? And on that topic, man, Texas seems to be mad about everything. Big 12 Coach of the Year, Big 12 Volleyball Awards. I'm seeing that, like innocuous comments by Mike Gundy. The Texas outrage is crazy right now, and it really was punctuated by it. I'm surprised that this struck a nerve as much as it did on social media, but really punctuated by Texas deciding not to play Texas Tech because they're that upset about how they've been treated in Lubbock lately. Good luck in the SEC. I don't know. There's a lot going on that front. Texas just seems to be very, very angry and manufacturing a lot of anger all over the place. Oh, I should throw in the college football playoff rankings as well, because that is another part of what Texas is upset about. And that one, they've actually got a case. I will give Texas that. They should be a little upset about being seventh in the college football playoff rankings and behind Ohio State and Oregon. I've got them for that. I am really intrigued by what's happening with the Houston coaching search, and I definitely want to talk about that today. They're actually getting Jeff Traylor in for multiple interviews, and I'll be honest, that kind of surprises me. Nothing against what's going on at Houston. I don't want anybody to be necessarily offended by that, but I did not think that he would be a guy that would be interested in that after just interviewing for Texas A&M. But if they can get Jeff Traylor, man, I mean, this conference is going to be a beast with just the amount of great coaches that are in this league. So I definitely have my eye on that. Like I said, a couple major Pac-12 updates, scheduling alliance coming together with the Mountain West for Oregon State and Washington State. They took an L in court, which sucks, and I hate that for them. But that's all on the docket, man. That is all on the table here today as potential topics. But as you guys know, if you have been here before, you can control the content on the show tonight. You can control where we go, and you can do that by clicking the $sign below the chat box. That will attach a donation to your chat and make it a super chat. That is how you can ensure that your opinion will make it on the show tonight. You can get your questions or comments in that way. You can voice your opinion. It is also a way to support the work that I'm doing to bring you this Big 12 content, college football content, conference realignment content on a week in, week out basis. All of that is much appreciated. Could not do it without your support. Sincerely do appreciate that. Already over 100 people in the chat here tonight. I will not be able to monitor everything going on in the typical chat. So if you want to be a part of the show, that is how you do so. Click the $sign below the chat box to attach a donation to your chat and make it a super chat. And that is how you can be a part of the show. A free way, totally free way, minimal effort to support the work that I'm doing here on this channel is just to merely click the like button. That's all it takes. One click the like button. And that really helps me with the YouTube algorithm. You can also leave a comment in the comment section. That definitely helps. Whether you love me, hate me, agree, disagree, whether it's during the show or after the show, I would much appreciate all of that. And if you want to support the channel and you are not catching this live, John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo is the way to do that. You can leave a question or comment there as well. And if you do, I will make sure to read it on the next show. So I think that is the laundry list of items that I have for you today. The housekeeping before we get going. Oh, I forgot to tweet my link here. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Now it's out to the Twitterverse. We'll see how many more people that brings in here tonight. But we'll kick off the show with Joe. Joe, I appreciate your support as always, my friend. I was not anticipating this being a place that we would go, but Joe says, John, don't wear a headdress or red and black face paint at Chiefs games. You will get slammed by Deadspin. Go Pokes. think I saw like one little quip about Deadspin with that. I didn't realize that Deadspin was totally on that. I did see the clip that was going around, and I mean, not great. I probably would not have my child doing that. But anyway, don't want to get too far down that road. Go Pokes, though, indeed, Joe. Go Pokes. That is where the focus needs to be today. I hope everybody in here can band together in favor of the Pokes. I know MJ Allen won't, but basically everybody else here probably should. So if we could get some big, let's call it BPE, right? Some big poke energy in here. If we could get some big poke energy going to try and send some good vibes to the Cowboys, who are now 15.5-point underdogs on Saturday in Arlington, I would much, much, much appreciate that. And hey, maybe we'll send some of those good vibes the way of like Stone Cold Steve Austin, because I saw the Big 12 had like some Stone Cold Steve Austin Big 12 branded shirts because of their partnership with the WWE. There's a lot going on here. About this, people, the Texas and Oklahoma State bands will combine and perform with Nelly for Hot in Here as a part of the Big 12 title game halftime show. Now, I will say, little disappointed, Mark, that we didn't get that worked out for last year. All right. Obviously, I attended last year to watch K-State win the Big 12 championship, and I did not get to see the pride of Wildcat Land perform with Nelly and do Hot in Here. That is a crushing disappointment. As if I wasn't already disappointed enough that K-State blew the ending of the game in Austin and did not get a chance to play in the Big 12 championship game. Now I have to know for the rest of my life that if that would have happened, and, then theoretically they're more motivated to play on Saturday against Iowa State. I don't know. If that would have happened, K-State, I would be seeing the pride of Wildcat Land playing with Nelly. That will haunt me for the rest of my life. So congratulations to Oklahoma State and Texas fans for the fact that you will get to bestow that honor this weekend. WWE wrestlers that will be in attendance. The Undertaker, which now look, I'm not a big wrestling guy. I know more about it than I should because I used to work around about 8 people that loved it. I know the Undertaker's a big deal. I also know the Undertaker's a Texas fan. He's like a big Texas fan. What are we doing, Mark? Why get the Undertaker out of here? We don't need to be inviting the Undertaker to this thing. All right. The only thing I want to see the Undertaker do, since he is there, is, if Oklahoma State falls behind, but then they come roaring back in the second half, like what happened last week against BYU. I need the Undertaker in a coffin on the sideline, and I need the coffin to fly open, and I need him to sit up like the infamous GIF that is used over and over again. It is one of the best GIFs on the internet, truly. That's the only reason the Undertaker should actually be there. Jade Cargill, Drew McIntyre. I don't know those guys. They will also be in attendance, though, apparently. And some guy named Warren Zeters sings the national anthem. Another one that I have no idea about. I guess this one's kind of cool. The Big 12 championship game will be live streamed in Times Square as a part of the Big 12 tailgate in Times Square. It'll be an annual occurrence. So Mark's got the championship game coming on annually in Times Square. I mean, that's fine. That's nice if you can get it. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to poo-poo that too much. I don't know that that's some huge significant thing, but that's the type of thing that I say, hey, nice. I appreciate the effort on that. And if you can pull it off, if you got the connections, might as well go ahead and do it. But I really just wish the Big 12 could figure out their tiebreakers and then not, lie to everybody about them moving forward. I hope that their eyes are on the prize in terms of what's really, truly more important in all of this than, bringing the Undertaker to the game and having the bands play Hot in Here. But there is your list of frills that will be happening. I saw the Big 12 tweeted, too, that Big 12 Eats would be coming back as a part of this. So for everybody that loved your Wabash Cannon Dog at the Big 12 basketball tournament, apparently Big 12 Eats are back. I didn't see a specific team-by-team breakdown of what we're getting this time, which is somewhat disappointing. But perhaps I am just missing that. Snappy AJ. What's up, Snappy AJ? Snappy AJ says, wondering if there's portal regret from the OSU exodus. We lost a player to Baylor, BYU, Houston, and TCU. None going to a bowl game. Another went to OU, lost Bedlam, and is not going to the conference championship game. Oh, well, I know that one, Snappy AJ. I know that's Trace Ford, and I know I saw a nice clip of Trace Ford getting pancaked right on his ass in Bedlam, which was pretty satisfying, I'm sure, for a lot of Poke fans to see. I'm sure there has to be some regret for that, right? I feel like a lot of times we don't find out about it or hear it spoken to very much. One of the few times that I have seen it spoken to was actually Jerome Tang, who said that last year after they went on the run to the Elite Eight, he was getting texts from guys that they had recruited in the offseason out of the portal. They were saying like, hey, congratulations, I made a mistake. I should have come with you guys. So, I suppose that does happen to some extent. But yeah, I mean, every player's situation is different. You never know what exactly is going into their decision to do that. But just on the surface, Baylor, BYU, Houston, TCU, that would appear to be a scenario in which they probably do have some level of regret for it. You didn't even include Ole Miss. Now, I know Ole Miss is having a nice season. They're not in the conference championship game, but outside shot at New Year's Six Bowl, I guess it looks like Mizzou's probably going to get that over them. But, they've had a pretty nice season. But Spencer Sanders has barely played a lick at quarterback. So I would truly wonder what Spencer Sanders is thinking. It did really seem like he was pretty much just done with Gundy and Stillwater. But I would be very curious to know what is going through Spencer Sanders' mind at this very moment after he decided to leave and bail on Oklahoma State. So fair point to wonder there, Snappy AJ. But I would just say, hey man, you just enjoy the ride. Enjoy Oklahoma State being in the Big 12 championship game. Enjoy having the entire conference sans Texas rather behind you as you go up against Texas with a chance to do something very epic. Very, very epic here in this Big 12 championship game, which would be not to win a conference championship. Sure, that's great, but it's to deny Texas the last 15 years of being in the league, of winning the conference championship, to keep them out of the playoff and hand them a bitterly disappointing loss on their way out the door. This really is, this could be amazing for all of us who really want to see this and have been so tired of Texas's BS over the years in the conference. This is very important. Mike Gundy, I need you to be locked in. I need you to be focused. I would say, and stop putting bulletin board material up there for Texas to get mad about, but it's really manufactured outrage by Texas this week. And I'll read you the comments here in just a moment. But Snappy AJ, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for your support of the channel. Thank you very much for being here. Alan, what's up, Alan? All right, Alan brings up two big things going on in the Big 12 in the state of Kansas right now. When I say it's just been a crazy couple of days, which is just going to be the new norm in college football. You hit the end of the regular season, guys have to go to the portal, coaching searches begin, coordinator searches begin. All of that has hit the Big 12 and has certainly hit the state of Kansas, which is natural when you have as much success going on in the state as you do right now. So Alan asks, John, do you think Kansas retains offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki? Respect for Will Howard decision, but where does he go? Horns down, go Pokes. That's Alan. Alan's bringing some big BPE, some big poke energy, big Pokes energy to the table today. So I appreciate it, Alan. You have followed orders correctly here with the big Pokes energy. Okay, I will tell you what I know here, Alan. I will tell you what I know. On Andy Kotelnicki, he's being pursued by, it sounds like, Penn State and Texas A&M. And even there was a little bit out there that Oklahoma had kicked the tires on Andy Kotelnicki as offensive coordinator and got the vibe that he would not take the job, which is funny. Boy, you look at Oklahoma's schedule next year and what they have coming back. And I don't know. It's going to be a little dicey. It's going to be a little dicey for the Sooners next year. So maybe that is the right call. But yes, it seems like the Penn State thing is very, very real. I don't know as much about Elko and Texas A&M, but Penn State, I think, is the one to be worried about right now. I think Penn State has made a very substantial offer to Andy Kotelnicki. I think they've really zeroed in on him and he is the guy right now that they want. Whether or not he's actually going to take it, that's another question. But the momentum that I had been sensing, and I'm not the most plugged in guy in the world, but when you are talking about things in the state of Kansas, I'm a little bit more plugged in, and a lot of what I had been hearing was there's just a lot. It seems to be a lot of fear in Lawrence right now about Andy Kotelnicki leaving. I don't think any decisions have been made, at least not to my knowledge, but there does seem to be a considerable amount of fear that he would leave to take this Penn State offensive coordinator job. And honestly, if Penn State pulls that off, hell of a hire. It doesn't shock me at all that major suitors are lining up right away for this guy. And I kind of wondered. I thought after last year, guys, this dude looks like a complete star. I was a little surprised there wasn't seemingly more interest there. Now he's backed it up for a second straight year. Did it without the offensive player of the year. Again, who was MIA with injury issues. I can see why the star is burning brighter now for Andy Kotelnicki, and people are really, really coming after him. So, it would be a hell of that. Penn State needs it, man. That offense just was dreadful this year. Well, they had a really good defense. I think that's very smart, very savvy, very, very savvy from James Franklin. Now, I mean, the other thing I would say too, I do believe that Colin Klein was on the short list for Penn State as well. I believe that there was contact there. I don't know much beyond that, other than it seems like Kotelnicki is the guy that's been zeroed in on for now. Whether or not that means that Colin Klein at K-State would still be on the list, or he said no, I'm not entirely sure. But it's going to be the deal, man. Both of those guys are really, really good offensive coordinators. So they're going to be generating a lot of interest. Colin Klein turned down Notre Dame last offseason, so that's what gives me, at least personally as a K-State fan, a little more comfort, but you just never know. You never know year to year, and these major opportunities keep coming up. I mean, who knows? So now the Will Howard decision, right? So Will Howard's in the portal. Blake Shapen is also in the portal, which is a big one from Baylor. Baylor's had a lot of problems. Blake Shapen, though, has continued to be pretty good. I guess I'll start with Will Howard here. So, I think some people, if you're not paying real close attention, it can be pretty shocking to see Will Howard, the guy that's been K-State's, I would say, full-time starter the last 2 years, at least last year and a half. Won a Big 12 championship last year. Still has a year of eligibility left as a super senior. And you see immediately after the season, whoa, Will Howard's transferring. He immediately was named On3's number one player in the portal at that time. Still fairly early because we're talking grad transfers. It's only grad transfers who can officially enter the portal right now. So it'll get way crazier once it actually opens up. But still, he's a high-profile transfer, and I understand it. But I think that was always going to happen. It comes as no surprise to me, and it comes as no surprise to anybody who was really paying close attention to K-State's situation. Avery Johnson's really, really special. And I know that this comparison I'm about to make, you might roll your eyes because of the names involved, but I'm not even saying that this is going to be this high level of a thing. But this is a perfect comparison in terms of how you were playing it. If you take it at the time of 2018, before we knew what Patrick Mahomes was going to be, this is very similar to an Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes situation. Alex Smith had a great year before he handed it over to Patrick Mahomes in 2018, and the Chiefs just made their decision to move on. And there were some people who were hey, dude, look at how Alex Smith played this year. Really, you're going to move on from him? He's been pretty good. But you see the upside that was there with Mahomes, and you're man, we've got to ride this. We've got to go with this. Well, Avery Johnson, being as talented as he is, was not going to sit around for a second year and not play. So your choice was, do you want another year Will Howard, or do you want 3 years of Avery Johnson? And for those of you that watched the 5 touchdown performance at Texas Tech, you certainly see the athleticism and the speed, which is insane. He's also got a great arm. This is not just a one-trick pony. This is a guy that can really sling it. Makes a lot of the off-platform throws that you see quarterbacks making these days. He's special. And I know that's been K-State has felt that way since he got on campus. And I think Will Howard, it was just a marriage that made a lot of sense to end. For Will Howard, he's going to go get a huge payday. Matt Rule has made a lot of headlines, Nebraska's head coach, by saying within the last couple of days that high-profile quarterbacks on the transfer portal, on the market, are worth $1.5 to $2 million. So Will Howard can go to massive payday. K-State's competitive in NIL, but they're not going to pay 2 quarterbacks over $1 million. So you can't be doing that next year if you're K-State, just from an affordability standpoint. You need to devote those resources elsewhere. That's a part of it. So for Will Howard, he can go make more money, be the guy, not have to deal with someone looking over his shoulder, not have to deal with the fans really wanting the other guy, because there was a big part of the season where that was the case this year, and really the whole season for some fans. So just made sense for Will Howard to go do this. And it seems brash because it happened so quickly after the season, but you have to do that. For Will Howard, he has an advantage now, being that he's a grad transfer. He can hop in before the portal is just completely free reign. And now you have a higher profile list of suitors, less competition. You can go start the ball rolling there. And I do believe there was legitimate Notre Dame interest in him until Riley Leonard from Duke. It became clear that he was going to come free. And now it looks like that's kind of a prearranged marriage there, is Riley Leonard to Notre Dame. So we saw Auburn, Washington, Mizzou, Kentucky, I think was the list that was put out there as potential landing spots for Will Howard. He'll get a bag, man. He'll get a 7-figure payday from one of those schools. If he doesn't go to the NFL, I also have been hearing that Will still may just explore the option of going to the NFL, which, like, obviously I would prefer. I would not. It would be easier on me if I don't have to watch him play for another school, but I would completely support it and completely understand. So that's the situation right now with Will Howard. K-State lost 3 quarterbacks in the same day because they also have Jake Rubley, who was very highly touted when he came in, but has been in the program 3 years now and has not done much. And was 3rd string this year, immediately passed by Avery Johnson. And then Adrian Laura, who was also brought in within the last couple of years, but further down the depth chart. So that was the Avery Johnson effect. Like, everybody looked at it and said, well, we're not going to play, so we've got to get out of here. K-State does have Jacob Knuth, who was a quarterback that they wanted very badly out of high school. He chose Minnesota instead. He came back around as a preferred walk-on to transfer to K-State, which is great and wonderful, and he will be the backup next year. Again, a guy that they really, really wanted out of high school as like a primary option. But there's an issue with the bowl game because of his situation where he was on academic scholarship and not. Anyway, apparently he just can't play. So unless they get some waiver, he can't play in the bowl game, which means K-State will have exactly 1 quarterback on the roster for the bowl game. So that's some collateral damage to what happens with the portal and NIL here with what's going on in college football, is that you can get some wonky situations in the bowl games, and K-State will have one. But anyway, long-winded response there. There's a lot on Will Howard. If you're a 3MA subscriber, the K-State podcast I do, you can find a lot more information there on the 3MA feed, or we did a huge Will Howard pod on our Patreon page if you want to pay $5 a month, patreon.com/3MA. So anyway, there's your breakdown, Alan. We'll see what happens with Kotelnicki. I would imagine you're going to get an answer within the next 24 hours or so, but I don't know for sure. Daniel, what's up, Daniel? Daniel says this Saturday we are all Pokes fans. Daniel's bringing some BPE, some big Pokes energy. I don't know what the hell it is about that. I nailed BPE this time, but then saying Big Pokes energy, something about it just doesn't flow quite well, and I keep bumbling it. So, my apologies for not being locked in myself here, but Big Pokes energy. Let's go. Big Pokes energy. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, sir. Mike, what's up, Mike? Appreciate you being here, Mike. Mike asked a good question. Who do you think will be the next head coach at Houston, and who do you think it should be? I wanted to talk about the Houston head coaching search because I am very impressed that they have seemingly generated some real interest from Jeff Traylor at UTSA. Who do I think will be the next head coach? I do not think it will be Cliff Kingsbury, which is who the betting markets had set as the favorite. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case at all. Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle has done a great job reporting about all this. And he says Houston's search is focused on Jeff Traylor, Tulane's Willie Fritz, and TCU coach Gary Patterson. That's another thing I had heard a lot about recently, is that like Gary Patterson is making a big push. It sounds like Gary Patterson really wants this job, which you can understand. A guy wanted to get back in the game. Like, it's in the state of Texas, another major metro. It's still in the Big 12, a conference that I mean, that seems like a perfect opportunity for Patterson to get back in. The other guys mentioned were UNLV coach Barry Odom, UNLV offensive coordinator Brennan Marion, and Oregon offensive coordinator Will Stein. Oh, and then Texas assistant head coach / special teams coordinator Jeff Banks, who, of course, is of Pole Assassin fame, was dating Pole Assassin, who had a pet monkey that, like, what was it, bit a kid, messed up a kid at Halloween last year. So, or was that 2 years ago? Anyway. You guys know the story. You're familiar with the Pole Assassin story. That's the guy, Jeff Banks. Maybe so you know what? Who should be the head coach at Houston? Maximizing entertainment value, it might be Jeff Banks. Maximizing entertainment value, honestly, for me, and like a content value, I think it would probably be Gary Patterson. That would be the most interesting to me. But in a perfect world, who would I want it to be for Houston? I would want it to be Jeff Traylor. I think that guy's an incredible coach. I think if Houston pulls this off, like, here would be my kind of more Big 12 global take on it. If Houston really gets Jeff Traylor to come in and be their head coach, what is Baylor thinking at that point? I'd be pretty upset if I were a Baylor fan and like, hey man, we're taking this risk on Dave Aranda and letting him come back and do this. Well, the best like young up and coming coach in the state of Texas is getting hired by freaking Houston. We're going to let Houston go do that and get that guy. I would not be very thrilled with that if I were a Baylor fan. So that almost changes my answer from the other day when someone had asked me about Aranda and Baylor and what would I do if I were in their shoes. And I was kind of more like, I mean, I can see the case if you're going to make him, force all these changes and really try. Like, I can see the case still for keeping Aranda around. But boy, if Traylor goes to Houston, I would not love that. He just got an interview at A&M. It's clear that everybody sees the value in him as a coach. He's going to get a big job at some point. And if it's Houston, I mean, I think that would be just great for the league, bringing in another excellent coach at a place that has a world of potential based on the state that it's in, the city that it's in, and all the talent that you can accumulate around there. So that is my read. By the way, the report, I mean, it was nothing special, but Duarte reported that Jeff Traylor had interviewed and that it was believed to be at least a second interview with the school, according to Joseph Duarte's source from the Houston Chronicle. Traylor, if you're unfamiliar, now I guess he's 55. I say young, up and coming. I guess no offense to anybody 55 out there, but I don't know that even in the coaching profession, I can label that as necessarily young. But Jeff Traylor interviewed earlier this month for Texas A&M at UTSA. Traylor had a 12-win season in 2021 and an 11-win season in 2022, both times winning Conference USA. The Roadrunners went 8-4 in their first season in the American Athletic Conference and will play in a fourth straight bowl game. That's an important piece to me. They moved up in competition level this year going to the AAC, and they still had a pretty darn nice year. So I'd be on board there. There's also this from a different reporter who said, can confirm, and I apologize. I lost who this was. I just copied and pasted the tweet. That's bad on me. But it says, can confirm Jeff Traylor interviewing with Houston today. Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle reported it first. Traylor also in talks with UTSA about additional resources for the football program. Based on conversations with sources inside the program, I get the sense that Traylor is tired of having to fight for every nickel. So Jeff Traylor apparently tired of having to fight and scrap for money at UTSA would be a potential reason that he is looking to leave here. And look, I mean, the reality is UTSA has to know. I mean, they weren't going to keep him long-term based on their situation and their resources and all of that. Like the guy's going to get a major gig. Maybe it'll be at Houston. So I don't know. I still, we saw that about a second interview. That was yesterday. We still haven't seen anything about who they're hiring. The longer it drags on after that, the more it makes me wonder if he will actually accept the job. So it's hard for me to offer a specific prediction about that. I also even wondered like if Willie Fritz would want to do that. Fritz is in his early 60s. It's kind of moving to the same job, except one that's just up a level in terms of the conference that it's in the Big 12. So maybe that's enough for him to want to go. If he is going to go to a different job, you're probably running out of time, again, based on his age. So maybe this is when he wants to make a move and try to do something different. But I wasn't sure if Houston was totally different enough than Tulane. And again, I mean no offense to that, but when you've got Tulane really up and running right now the way that he does, potentially going to a second straight New Year's Six Bowl, I don't know. I don't know about that one for Willie Fritz. Great candidate. I think he'd be a phenomenal hire. I would also cheerlead for that hire. I guess if you really push me on it, it would seem to me out of the top three there, like Gary Patterson would be the most likely to accept the job because I think he very badly wants it. So I guess I go Gary Patterson. Who do I think it should be? I'll take Jeff Traylor. That's a long, long way to answer your question there, but I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you for your support of the channel, my friend. Same to Starter 179. Starter 179, appreciate you being here and appreciate your support of the channel and appreciate you pulling us back onto the track that this really started on, which was the Big 12 championship game, but then Texas and their general attitude and demeanor right now, which seems to be like, burn it down, we're angry at everybody mode. Starter 179 says, UT media and fans think they're going to get a round of applause on their way out of the conference. Their media is taking everything as a slight. Their media, their players, their fans, literally everybody is taking everything as a slight right now. I mean, I saw so much complaining about was it the all Big 12 volleyball teams who got the volleyball coach of the year award? I mean, this whole like Big 12's out to get us conspiracy theory thing is extending now to coach of the year awards and even what's going on in freaking volleyball. Like it's crazy, man. It's a little bit crazy. But where was the Gundy quote? I was going to bring you the Gundy quote. I have it way down here. My apologies. I'm going to have to. Mike Gundy had a very innocuous, I thought, comment about the Big 12 championship game. So here it is. It says Gundy was asked for his thoughts on dealing with Sweat and Murphy, Byron Murphy and Montez Sweat, Devondre Sweat, excuse me. And so Mike Gundy responded by saying, quote, well, we can double them and let the widest guy go and try to make the tackle. And we can do what we've done the last 15 years, which is block them. I didn't do a very good job of reading that. Okay. Let me not bungle this. Mike Gundy was asked for his thoughts on dealing with Sweat and Murphy on the Texas D-line. And he responded by saying, well, we can double them some and let the widest guy go and try to make the tackle. And we can do what we've done the last 15 years, which is block them. And like Mike Gundy has been great against Texas. I believe he's 6-3 in the last 9 meetings. I think I heard that it might have been 7-3 in the last 10. Like Gundy has had the upper hand on Texas here lately, and they played a bunch of really close games. So, I mean, that to me is not really S-talking. That's just a statement of fact. Like, we've gone up against them. We block them. They have great linemen every year, and we handle them, and it's okay. Gundy then followed up his original statement by complimenting Texas's continued domination from the defensive line position, saying, quote, they are this way all the time. When I first started playing them 20 years ago, when Mac Brown was the head coach, they were top 5 in the country every year. They got good players. I got a lot of respect for them. And as often you see, that part of the quote gets left out. And there was a Texas account that tweeted the first part of the quote where he said, we can double them some and let the widest guy go try to make the tackle. And we can do what we've done for the last 15 years, which is block them. And then Byron Murphy quote tweeted that with simply 11 a.m., basically saying like, hey, man, come and get it at 11 a.m. That's where you can find me. So Texas took that as a slight. Texas players took that as a slight. Now, that's a little ridiculous to me, but the one thing I will say is that Texas has been like a tougher team, a team that's been able to take care of business in the games that they should win, which has always been their problem. And so if they've been utilizing things like this to make it happen and manufacturing anger, and, you know, they had the thing with the Iowa State offensive lineman who poked them, and then Iowa State rushed for 9 yards in that game. Like, Texas has used that clearly for motivation. Like, they have found ways to do it. And so I guess I would just say, if manufacturing the anger is working for them, they should keep doing it, because they've been a hell of a lot better at managing games like this that they should win this year than they have in a very long time, 14 years, in fact. So that seems to be just kind of the MO in the way that Texas is going right now. I also saw a lot of consternation from Texas media and fans about Mike Gundy winning Big 12 Coach of the Year. That's one of the pieces of news that we've had since I last spoke to you. We got the coaches all Big 12 team today. And Mike Gundy and all the awards and everything, right? So Mike Gundy wins Coach of the Year. Let's see if I can read you all of these. Ollie Gordon, no surprise, Offensive Player of the Year. Devondre Sweat, Defensive Player of the Year, well-deserved. Absolutely should have gotten that. I mean, that's the crazy thing. I'm about to tell you that Offensive Newcomer of the Year is Adonai Mitchell at Texas too. Defensive Lineman of the Year is Byron Murphy. Defensive Freshman of the Year, Anthony Hill, along with Ben Roberts of Texas Tech. So I just read to you 4 individual awards that Texas won. And, you know, yet still, now conspiracy, Big 12's out to get us. What's happening with the head coaching thing here? You're stiffing us on the volleyball rankings. We still get the cries of conspiracy, even though out of 10 different individual awards, Texas got 4 of them. So they picked up 40% of the individual awards this year. Defensive Newcomer of the Year is Austin Booker on the Kansas defensive line. Offensive Freshman of the Year, Rocco Becht to Iowa State, quarterback, which makes sense. Special Teams Player of the Year is Austin McNamara, the punter at Texas Tech. Let's go. Punters getting a little bit of love there. Chuck Nine is Coach of the Year, Mike Gundy. So, I mean, look, is there an argument for Steve Sarkisian? Of course there's an argument for Steve Sarkisian as Big 12 Coach of the Year if you wanted to make it. But it's all, I mean, Mike Gundy was also picked very middle of the pack in the league, rallied his team from a 26-point loss to South Alabama at home back to the Big 12 championship game when the expectations were low. People were saying that he was done, myself included, and a lot of people looking at all the transfers and going like, this isn't going to work, man. Like, Gundy is out of touch. There were the NIL stuff. There was the NIL stuff that Oklahoma State fans were complaining about. Like, he went through a world of crap, did not have super high expectations, and he's now taken his team to the Big 12 championship game, and they beat 3 ranked teams along the way in order to do that. Like, there's definitely a case there for Mike Gundy. Some of this just comes down to, like, who is it that do you so many times with Coach of the Year, it can be the guy that overperforms low expectations versus just the guy that wins the league. And I truly do understand the argument of those who would say it needs to just go to the guy who wins the league. Give it to who is best. And you can say, yes, we have all these advantages and, better players. But I mean, you still got to go recruit the players. You've got to get them there. And if we're truly talking about the best coach, I mean, like, who's the best coach in Big 12 basketball every single year? I mean, it's Bill Self, but we kind of want to give it to somebody different. We like the story of people exceeding expectations. And like, I'm fine with that. So I'm cool with doing it more on a case-by-case basis. And bottom line, there are cases for both of those guys. I mean, you could make a case for Neil Brown or Matt Campbell too, probably, in terms of somebody that exceeded expectations, but they didn't do it to the level that Oklahoma State did. Neither of those teams have the wins that Oklahoma State does with the 3 top 25 wins, and they won't be playing in the Big 12 championship game. So I think it definitely would be Gundy or Sark, whoever you're going to argue for there. And look, I would have had no problem if Sark had gotten it. I have no problem with Mike Gundy getting it. I think there's a fair case to be made for both. But then, of course, you have stuff like this. Stuart Mandel, our old friend, I know you guys love him so. Stuart Mandel tweeted this. Mike Gundy, whose 9-3 team lost a game 33-7 to South Alabama and 45-3 to UCF, has been named Big 12 Coach of the Year, as opposed to 11-1 Steve Sarkisian. Who votes on this? Other Big 12 coaches. Bon voyage, Texas. It's like, okay, Stu, like, again, reasonable case to be made for both. It does not have to be don't feed into this Texas BS narrative about, like, everybody out to get us. Like, come on, man. That is a choice that is a very reasonable one. This was not making Scott Satterfield Big 12 Coach of the Year over Steve Sarkisian just for the hell of it. Like, Mike Gundy very much deserves that award. So I'm just annoyed at how some of that is being characterized there. And, Stuart Mandel jumping in on that is a bit annoying. A bit annoying. Anyway, appreciate you, Starter 179. Here's Delarick. What's up, Delarick? Any idea what is going on at Baylor? Well, I know Baylor, they're going to keep Dave Aranda. They fired Jeff Grimes, right, the offensive coordinator. Aranda's going to go back to calling the defense. And they're going to have to find a new quarterback because Blake Shapen did hit the portal. And I will admit that caught my attention. I'm not close enough with what's going on at Baylor to know, like, how expected that was necessarily. But, like, he's been a pretty good quarterback. Somebody will be very interested and probably very happy with him very shortly once they scoop him up in the portal. So, but maybe fresh start. That might be another scenario where, like, fresh start would be best for everybody involved because Shapen's been through some rough times the last couple of years at Baylor, not just losing, but injuries. And, I can definitely see how he would just look at it like, I need a fresh start. And maybe that's best for Baylor too, as they make a bunch of changes this offseason. So I don't know if you're alluding to anything beyond that, but that is what I know of what has been happening at Baylor. But I'm sure there are others who have a lot more in terms of inside info on that front. So anyway, if you want to be a part of the show tonight, click that $sign below the chat box. It will attach a donation to your chat, make it a super chat. That is the way to make your voice heard here on the channel. That is the way to become a part of the show tonight. It's also a way to support the work that I'm doing to bring you Big 12 content on a week in, week out basis. And it is much, much, much appreciated as always. Could not do it without your support. Sincerely do appreciate all of you guys who do that. 250 plus in the chat tonight. I can't keep track of everything that's going on in the chat. So if you do want your question or comment to be in there, click the $sign below the chat box. To make it a super chat, it pins it, puts it in a separate column for me, and ensures that it will make it on the show tonight. You got about 15 or 20 more minutes, I would say, here on the live show. As far as Texas Oklahoma State goes, man, I mean, look, shout out to Oklahoma State for getting it done and at least keeping us from having a Red River rematch in the Big 12 title game. That is already a big narrative victory for the Big 12 to not have that, because you think about, I mean, like game day, if that were the case, game day, we'd get a big feature story about how the two departing schools going to the SEC, all this SEC pride. They're going to go in and have this one last final hurrah and just dance all over the Big 12 on their way out the door. We get to avoid that. We get to avoid that because of Oklahoma State. And for that, they should be very, very much commended, even though it went down to the final wire against BYU in double overtime. So I am very grateful and appreciative of that. But if you think about narrative battles here, it is either Texas in their last year, after all the crap that they've taken over the years, rightfully so, for underperforming, in their last season, they can stick it to the Big 12 with a middle finger on their way out the door, take the trophy from the guy who back in August said, Texas Tech and Joey McGuire, make sure you take care of business in Austin. They could literally take the trophy from him on their way out the door and say, we've been too good for this place the whole time. Look, we're winning it. We're going to the college football playoff. We're getting out of here. Smell you later. That's one side. The other side is Texas loses another game as a double-digit favorite, a 2-touchdown plus favorite. It would mark the 15th year in a row that Texas has not won the Big 12. They would have not won a conference championship their final 15 years in the league. You would get Oklahoma State eternal bragging rights on Texas. You would prevent that awkward trophy presentation from happening. You would prevent 50,000 Texas fans screaming SEC at the top of their lungs as they are getting the trophy. You would prevent all of that and set the narrative that, hey, the last 3 years of the Big 12's existence with Texas and Oklahoma, neither Texas nor Oklahoma actually won the damn title. You can set that precedent. 3 straight years, didn't win the title. You would have had 2 college football playoff participants from the new Big 12 in that time frame, and the Big 12's only college football playoff win in its history. All of that would have been accomplished sans Texas or Oklahoma being at the top if Oklahoma State can win this game. When it comes down to narratives and narrative battles, and I preach the importance of this a lot because anybody with a brain and that has been on social media can see how much these narratives have hurt the Big 12 in years past, particularly 2021 when Texas and Oklahoma just announced they're leaving. Narratives get out of control, and it is very hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube, even if the narrative is unfair. So this matters. Like, that really matters. Do I have a lot of hope that Oklahoma State can pull it off? I'll be honest, as badly as I want it, I don't feel great about it. Because I think this is a game like Ollie Gordon would have to just go nuts. I think Ollie Gordon probably needs 150 plus, like 200 yards, something in that neighborhood if Oklahoma State's actually going to win the game. And that's going to be tough sledding, man. Texas, great run defense. They're 4th in the nation in run defense. That's going to be a tough putt. I saw it up close and personal. K-State had a really good rushing offense. They struggled mightily to run the ball against Texas. Iowa State has not had a great rush offense unless they're playing K-State in the snow, and they rushed for 9 yards. Texas completely shut them down in Ames. They have been seemingly getting better. Sweat in the middle of that defense is just almost unmovable, unblockable. And if it comes down to then, all right, Alan Bowman's going to have to make a bunch of plays. Look, I think Alan Bowman has been more than serviceable as a quarterback once they finally settled on him, but he does not have near the upside of Quinn Ewers. Like, if it turns into Ewers v. Alan Bowman, we know who's winning that matchup. I mean, Bowman, if they're running the ball well, can be a pretty effective quarterback, but he does not have the arm talent to be doing the things that Quinn Ewers is. So I would not feel very good about that at all. Not dynamic enough, right? Not dynamic enough to get there. I guess the other thing I would mention is, like, Oklahoma State would need to run the ball really well and then play good red zone defense, because one thing Texas does struggle with, and this was present even early in the Texas Tech game, they suck in the red zone. I mean, Texas is not seemingly, somehow they're just not very good in the red zone. If they can shore that up, I mean, they would have beaten everybody by like 35 this year. That seems to be the one bugaboo that they really have. They can move the ball with ease between the 20s, but you get them in the red zone and you can force some mistakes and some field goals and et cetera. So I think it would be a combination of those two things that would lead Oklahoma State to a win. But it's just, the way that you've beaten Texas in years past is you have to catch them off guard. You have to get them sleeping, not wanting to play the game, not being focused, the sort of country club arrogance that was permeating that program for so long. You can get them to not really show up. Well, I got news for you. I mean, not only is this a conference championship game for them where they can win a championship, and let's be honest, they don't have a lot of trophies in that football trophy case from the last 15 years. This is a chance for them to put a trophy in that case. It's a chance for them to win the league for the first time in 15 years. It's college football playoff on the line for them. And not only that, not only is the playoff on the line for Texas, but they could use some style points because they're still behind Oregon. The Ohio State thing, it's dumb that they're behind Ohio State right now, but Ohio State's not playing. Texas will get the chance to beat Oklahoma State. I'm sure they would jump Ohio State, and that's not really going to be a problem. So it's pretty inconsequential. But it does show you, again, what the committee thinks of them right now. And they need style points to try and jump. I mean, we'll see what happens with Oregon, Washington. It definitely seems like winner of the game is in, loser of the game is out. So then does it come down to maybe Florida State? Like if you can, the committee has said we're going to pick the best teams, not necessarily the most deserving. Does that mean you can knock Florida State out of there and take their spot? We'll see. We'll see. But Texas, it would behoove them to pick up as many style points as they possibly could in the game. And they're already back to the manufacturing anger over innocuous Mike Gundy comments. So I don't see, my point here is I do not see any way that you're getting Texas in a situation where they're going to be overlooking this game, relaxed, sleeping too much. I think you'll have a fired up Texas squad with something to prove. They seemingly are on a mission right now. And to their credit, they've been proving it. They've been accomplishing that mission so far, kind of by the skin of their teeth, especially when they had to go Malik Murphy for a while, but they've been doing it. And then we would get to see after the game. I mean, I'm honestly very fascinated to see which way this would go. No matter who wins, if Texas wins, you'll get to see how the Texas crowd reacts, which I'm sure you'll get SEC chants all over the place. And you'll just get to see how Texas acts. I mean, at that point, their time in the Big 12 football-wise is over. I guess they go play you say whatever they're going to play in the postseason, a New Year's Six game or the college football playoff. They're still going to technically be in the big, but it's their last Big 12 football game. Like if they wanted to just stand there throwing middle fingers on the middle of the field, like theoretically they could do it. If they want to throw middle fingers at Brett Yormark, theoretically they could do it. So it'd be very interesting to see how that goes. And then how awkward will it look to have Brett Yormark handing the trophy over to the Longhorns there? That also would be a very interesting sight to see. Now, I don't think anything would be super weird on Yormark's part, but will there be a little bit of taunting? Will there be some chatter? Will there be some talking from Texas as that goes down? I would be very interested to see how that happens. But then conversely, like Mike Gundy was not afraid to say the other day after the game, like, hey, basically, like, I know everyone's going to be rooting for us. I know the Big 12 probably wants us to win. So what would Mike Gundy say? He's become increasingly less filtered. Not that he was ever really filtered. I'm fascinated to know what Gundy would say in the postgame press conference if they beat Texas. I don't know if he pays attention enough to know that seemingly his comments from earlier in the week turned into like some bulletin board material for the Horns of sorts. Maybe he would have a retort to that. I would just love to know. Gundy also has been not shy at all, not bashful at all about speaking on Bedlam. As Bedlam has come to an end and being like, look, they're screwing it up. They're the ones leaving. He's been pretty outspoken about that too, and not afraid to raise his voice up on that front. So very much looking forward to that either way. And Saturday, man, I mean, just the awkward trophy presentations that could be coming to light. Think about Florida State. Florida State publicly declared, like they purposely streamed this Regents meeting. Remember that back in the summer, like purposely streamed this Regents meeting where they're just openly talking S on the ACC. Yeah, we're going to have to get out of the ACC. That's the bottom line. We're not making enough money. Just bleep talking everybody in this meeting in the league. And now like Jim Phillips is going to have to go present them the ACC championship trophy. That could be a little bit icy. Obviously, the big one is Michigan and Tony Petitti. I mean, no love lost between those two at freaking all. Michigan fans absolutely hate the guy. They're seething about it. This Jim Harbaugh and the sign stealing saga and the suspension that was laid out by the Big Ten. So how does that go? Like Petitti didn't even attend Ohio State, Michigan last week, which I would think the Big Ten commissioner is there every single year, right? Like, why do we even have a Big Ten season if we're not going to have Ohio State, Michigan? That's the whole deal. That's the point, is to have that game. And he was not there. Pete Thamel from ESPN was so scared of the fans. And he's just been the guy that's reporting on this, mind you. He's not the one doling out the punishment. He's the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. He was worried about them shooting the messenger to the point where he did his reports from inside the stadium, like with security all there, as opposed to being outside the stadium where he normally would. And I don't blame him, regardless of what doofus Desmond Howard is saying about it. I don't blame him at all for doing it that way, but that's where Michigan fans are at right now. So what is that going to be like, man? If you got to hand that over to Harbaugh, like, woof, woof. And then, of course, our boy George. Like, I assume George Kliavkov would just be there. I assume George Kliavkov will be the one handing over the winner of Oregon-Washington the trophy. That will be a hell of a picture in and of itself, right? George Kliavkov, who fruitlessly busted his butt to try and get that TV deal done and saw it undone at the very final hour because of Oregon and Washington will have to give one of them the trophy there. And on that front, I really am just curious what George is going to look like, man. We haven't seen anything from him. He kind of has just been in hiding, supposedly in Montana, ever since everything went down and he blew up a 100-year-old conference. So I just want to see what George is going to look like out there and see if he has anything to actually say. So Saturday can be very, very fun and intriguing. I mean, it sucks that the regular season's over. It sucks that this will be the last day, really, where you get wall-to-wall college football. That is a very, very sad thing, but it also should be incredibly entertaining, and there should be a ton going on to get excited about watching on this Saturday. So bring it on. Bring it on, dare I say. Let's finish up with Matthew here. Appreciate you, Matthew. Thank you for your support of the channel, as always. Matthew says, still getting over BYU fumbling away the Oklahoma State game, but basketball being better than expected is a silver lining. Also wishing BYU women's soccer success in the Final Four. Hey, there we go. All right, best of luck. Best of luck to the women's soccer team at BYU in the Final Four. And yes, basketball has been very good. I think we talked about that a little bit on the last show. They were top 10 KenPom. Last that I saw anyway. Last that I saw. They were top 10 KenPoms. Let's see. KenPom. BYU is at number 10 right now. I think they had peaked at 9. They're now at 10. So you love to see that. Love to see that for the Cougs. So yes, Matthew, great attitude. I hope that is soothing some of the pain of what was a very tough loss. Matthew, Gundy uncensored after an upset would be gold. Yes, it would. Like, I really feel like we could get a classic Gundy rant there. I mean, nothing will ever top I'm a man, I'm 40, I'm sure. But he's been so uncensored with his comments and just like this, I don't give a bleep attitude about Oklahoma and Bedlam ending and all of that. Now this is Texas, another school that and this is Bedlam. At least it's like, Oklahoma's kind of owned him this year, notwithstanding. But Texas, it's been the other way around. Like, he's had Texas's number. So if he goes and gets him again in the Big 12 championship game in this moment, no telling. No telling what Mr. Gundy might say with a microphone in front of his face. So I certainly want to experience that. So Pokes, back to the BPE. Big Pokes energy. Nailed it. Big Pokes energy. Get it done, Oklahoma State. Get it done this weekend. Alpha Cat, you may have my favorite comment of all time here. Alpha Cat, thank you for the support, first of all. And if anyone else has something they want to get in, this is buzzer beater time, my friends. Just a couple minutes left. Buzzer beater time. Click the $ below the chat box to submit your super chat. It will pin it in a separate column for me. That is the way that you guarantee you get on the show tonight. Alpha Cat says, nice awards, KABs, but I missed the light switches. Yeah, no more light switches. I mean, there is a light switch here in this room, but I would have to dramatically shift the way all this is going to give you the light switch. So that's probably not coming back. Hopefully this will be a semi-permanent sort of setup here. Still tinkering with it a little bit, but I kind of like this. And it's a lot easier for me to use. This is now a webcam as opposed to the DSLR that I was using before, like more of like a photography-based camera. Just a little clunkier, more to set up. This can really streamline my setup. So I think it will actually help me create more content for you guys throughout the week. It will make it easier for me to do that and probably encourage me to do it more. So that is why I shelled out the money for this bad boy. But yes, those are KABs. I have a couple of first place ones there. I also, somewhere back in my setup, I have a couple of Oscar Stauffer awards, which is for best play-by-play in the state of Kansas, that I won earlier in my career, and very much those are meaningful to me. I did not get all of my KABs. After my time in Manhattan broadcasting, station kept some. I asked for whatever I could get, and I got 2 on the way out the door. So, some of them are still at the Manhattan Broadcasting Building in Manhattan, Kansas, that you could see. But I do like those. A reminder of what I accomplished in my younger days. Seems like a lifetime ago here at this point, but thank you for recognizing that, Alpha Cat. I appreciate it. All right, I think that is probably going to do it for me. Look for some videos coming on the Pac-12 situation. Oregon State and Washington State took an L in court, not a permanent L, but it hurt their W from the other day. So I'm sad to see that. The scheduling alliance has basically come together now with the Mountain West. And then of all the stuff we talked about for Texas, I did not dive deep into the what had happened with Texas Tech. And there was a blurb written by Kirk Bowles from the Austin American-Statesman about Texas and how they feel about Texas Tech, and they're not going to play them because of how they've been treated. I would love to go a little more in depth than that, because that has generated a lot of conversation on social media, and it's just crazy to me. I don't know how Texas thinks that they're SEC ready, where you've got Bo Wallace, former Ole Miss quarterback, threatening to fight a coffee shop on Twitter and giving his location in the stadium the other day at the Egg Bowl. Like that's how it goes down in the SEC, man. And you're worried about Texas Tech fans yelling at Chris Beard. I mean, I don't know. That does not seem like a program that's ready for what's going to happen in the SEC when suddenly they're 4th or 5th in the boardroom instead of number 1. So anyway, we shall see. I appreciate all of you guys for being here tonight. If you could like that video on your way out the door, I would much appreciate that. If you're watching after the fact, John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo, you can support the channel that way. I much appreciate all of you guys who do that. Leave a comment in the comment section of the video, whether you love me, hate me, agree, disagree. All of that stuff helps with the YouTube algorithm, so I would much appreciate it if you did that. Spread the word to your friends and family. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, X, Threads, wherever you're at on social media. Let people know about the channel. If there are fan groups of your school, the Big 12, get some links in there. Let them know about it too. Let's continue to grow this great community that we have here on this channel. I think that is going to wrap it up for me. Again, look for some more videos in the coming days. And of course, I'll be back on Sunday for another live show. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed so you're ready for another live show coming up on Sunday. With that, I bid you all farewell. Big Pokes energy, baby. Big Pokes energy. Oklahoma State, Gundy, let's go get it done, my friend. Go get it done, and let's get a nice post-game presser rant on your way out the door. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you. Have a great night, and I will talk to you soon.